CanCOVID is an open science collective dedicated to rapidly mobilizing and sharing knowledge to help inform Canada's COVID-19 response. To learn more about us or how to join our community, you can visit our website at cancovid.ca.
Okay, well, hello everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of CanCOVID Speaker Series. My name is Rosa Stalteri, and I lead the research and evaluations team here at CanCOVID. And I have the pleasure today of introducing you to this week's speaker, Harris Lutvica, who is the technical team lead at CanCOVID. And our topic today is an orientation to CanCOVID's website and Slack platform. So just a few items. We have saved time at the end of today's presentation for a Q&A session. So please do enter your questions in the events chat. And we have a couple of brief announcements that we will share at the end. And so without further ado, I will now hand over the mic virtually to Harris. Thanks.
Thank you so much for the lovely introduction, Rosa. And thank you everyone for joining me and our team today. First off, I'm just really excited to be able to represent the CanCOVID team as a whole, all of our colleagues, past and present, and all the amazing work that we've been putting in towards trying to expand and evolve the CanCOVID platform. As well, get to show off these functionalities and explore them to our membership in a way where we can get them to leverage these opportunities best possible and really use the CanCOVID platform and maximize their experience, and hopefully maybe even incentivize some people to join the network by the end of this session. So now we can move into just looking at what we'll cover today. First off, it'll be the CanCOVID overview and purpose. So just highlighting our mandate, some of our goals, but also breaking down our community, looking at who actually builds the community, the different roles and experts that we have as part of it. And then we'll move into the recent development of our web platform. So some of you know, we did actually revamp our website, and we had the ability to take feedback from our membership, but also look at our analytics to try to identify specific areas that we wanted to revamp. We'll look at the member functionalities and perks. So as part of the CanCOVID website and as being part of the CanCOVID network, you actually have an additional layer to the CanCOVID website called the member site, which we'll do a little interactive tutorial with today. And then finally, we use Slack as our community platform. So that'll wrap up the interactive demo component of the session, where we look into Slack and how that connects back to the website and what you can actually take advantage of and leverage as a CanCOVID community member. And then we'll wrap it all up with our future directions, just looking into some of the goals and tasks we have for the next couple of months and providing you guys a line of sight into what to expect. So moving forward to our CanCOVID overview and purpose. So obviously CanCOVID is here to support the scientific effort and community and their work to encourage multidisciplinary, but also transdisciplinary collaborations. And I think this is something that is reflective in our community breakdown. On the next slide, you'll see the variety of roles and experts that we have, something that we definitely like to show. As well, we're trying to connect people and resources to enable rapid knowledge mobilization and science to policy action. Now, whether that's hosting an event or being able to put out a new knowledge product, or honestly, sometimes just getting the right person on the right time at the right place, whether it be an email thread or a call, something we take pride in. And then finally, provide our government partners with a better line of sight into existing and emerging COVID-19 science and research. And I don't have to be the one to say it. We all know that it's been a dynamic time. The landscape's always changing. There's a new topic of discussion every week. And for us, we're just trying to be that the helping hand, the coordinator that's helping collaboration and reducing duplication during this really, really hectic time. So moving into our CanCOVID community, as part of, or the first thing I'll say is our whole team was delighted to have over 900 CanCOVID members re-register as part of the community. So this involved getting detailed information on their role, their field of expertise, but also how they want to contribute to the CanCOVID community as a whole, as well as some of the feedback that they had. So positive feedback, as well as some constructive feedback for our platform. And it was just a really great way to be able to take all that data and then almost be able to build a picture of what the CanCOVID community is. So if we're just looking at the high level numbers, researchers do have the biggest percentage of the pie at 75%. And when we, of our total membership, and if we go a little deeper into that, we see that academic affiliations lead with 80%, and then we have hospital and healthcare, as well as government, industry partners, and other. And if we look at the other specific roles, we have healthcare professionals, government professionals, industry collaborators, as well as patient partners. And to be completely honest, this is something that we're very proud of, being able to provide a different lens, a different perspective, multiple perspectives into the COVID-19 relief efforts, while having this holistic approach when we try to execute some of those goals and mandates that I talked about on the earlier slide. So moving into some of the work that we've been putting in towards the last couple of months. So as I mentioned, we did have the CanCOVID web platform. We had the great feedback that we had from all of our members, whether it was just email threads with some of our partners or the specific feedback that we got on re-registration. But we also had analytics that I was talking about, where we can map out the average user experience and see where people were getting lost on our website, where people are spending more time. And as a whole, we were able to identify 3 main pain points that we really wanted to address and expand our platform, with the first one being improved site navigation and user experience, a really simple one. We wanted to make the language on our website a little more plain and simple to understand, put our important information right at the top of the homepage, get people to our knowledge products, to our events, the things that we really want to define CanCOVID and what it means to be a CanCOVID member. Next up was increasing awareness of CanCOVID events. By far the best comments that we got, or the highest percentage of the positive comments that we got, were regarding our events. So the diversity of topics, speakers, even the length of events, whether it be a speaker series at 20 minutes, and I know this one's a little bit of a different one than we'd usually do, but then having the workshops at an hour and a half or an hour, people really like the diversity that we bring there. And we didn't have a place to house these events. So not only do we create a page now, but we have a couple of functionalities we can use to actually go through past and prior events, and we'll do that during the live demo. And then finally, refresh the resources page, including our dynamic library. So defining quick links that we vetted and organized to allow people these resources, whether they're our members or just the public, but also having a dynamic library with a search engine where we have high quality reports and pieces of evidence that we can point people to, and in English and French, something that we will definitely take a look at during the interactive demo. So to go along with the website revamp, Slack is a massive part of the CanCOVID community. It's our community engagement tool in our platform. And it is a tool and platform that takes a little bit of time to getting used to. And in the past, we did have a large amount of channels, which can be slightly intimidating at first, or even the way that people can interact with the tool can be a little off or a little different than what you would use in the past. So we've tried to really simplify this and create a framework that allows people to have the basics, but also extremely catered content. And the way we did this was have 7 publicly available channels to everyone, regardless of your role or your field of expertise. So we're talking about announcements, feedback for CanCOVID, specific topics that are really important in COVID research, as well as Slack assistance. So those are sort of the basics. From there, depending on your re-registration link, depending on the role that you identified, the field of expertise that you identified, we can actually place our members in a specific user group. So in this case, if you identified as a researcher in public health and epidemiology, you would go into that user group and have, a specific subset of channels that you would be able to see, while the researcher in biomedical engineering would have slightly different channels as well, although there would be some overlap. And this is about providing our users not an abundance of information that overloads them, but the simple basics and then the catered content that they really care about. So at this point in the session, I'm going to move over to cancovid.ca and sort of run just a little bit of an interactive demo of showing some of these topics I've described on the slides, but do it in real time and just sort of show some tips and tricks that can be used to navigate the website. So there we go. The one thing I will say is the little bar that you have that shows all our faces can sometimes block the things that I'm talking about. So if it sounds like I'm talking about something that doesn't exist, it could be true, but it could also just be that the bar is blocking it. So right off the bat, as I mentioned, this is the CanCOVID homepage. I've set it up in an incognito tab to reflect someone who's just come to CanCOVID for the first time. They've signed up, they're in the Slack, but they've never logged into our member site. So on the homepage, as I mentioned, we have our directory here of the most important things, being able to access our last workshop, find a resource, get to our newsletter, get to Slack, of course, join CanCOVID in big red, of course. The language is very simple. Resources, that's where you'll be able to get quick resources and products. We put our knowledge products on the homepage right away. We're super proud of what our R&D team does and being able to produce these products on a really tight timeline and high quality of evidence. So we definitely want to post that there and allow multiple channels for people to get there. We've outlined Canada's response to COVID-19 with a variety of networks and committees, not just linking out to them, but providing a little bit of information on them as well. And then finally, a more lighthearted and dynamic element to the homepage is Voices of CanCOVID. This is where we can take a look at anything CanCOVID related being tweeted, COVID related being tweeted, even our partners or members, and push that onto the homepage in a dynamic element. Now, speaking about accessibility, one of the aspects of the CanCOVID website that we really took to heart was making sure that it was as close to 100% translatable in French as well. So about 95% of the website is in French to go along with English. As you can see, all the text, all of our notes are also in French, and as well as the products in the dynamic library, which we'll take a look at later. But just an element that we definitely wanted to add in terms of accessibility. Now, just for my own sanity's sake, we're going to go back to English because I might get a little lost. All right. Next up, I just want to quickly show up the resources that we were talking about. So really breaking that down to the trusted quick links resources that we've vetted and we've organized for our members and the public, and the digital library that we also have where you can actually use a search functionality. So Canadian organizations, provincial organizations, international interactive research tools, published literature. We put these into different categories with the same type of descriptor and link out. Of course, CanCOVID reports are there as well. Being able to look through these, so something I would definitely recommend. We're also very open to crowdsourcing. We understand we have a great community, a lot of brilliant people, so we're always looking to crowdsource resources to add to this list and then find a spot on the website if applicable. So definitely something that we recommend. And then moving to our digital library, this is the area that I talked about us being able to so index ESN reports, so evidence synthesis network science table, our own CanCOVID reports, Cochrane, CADITH, INSPQ, and we're looking to continuously grow this. Right now, we have over 400 of their reports in here, French and English. And just to show off a little bit of the functionality, you could search by keyword or the source or the tags, and it would provide you all of the resources that we have. So this is COVID-19 science table. They only have English reports as of now. In terms of looking at one of our own CanCOVID reports, we could click this one. This is one of our issue notes. We have a very standard format where we put our questions, a summary of included resources, as well as what we know, what are the notable gaps and what are on the horizon. So this is just a really quick way to be able to digest this more scientific data in a more digestible and user-friendly way rather than a PDF document. But if you do want the whole PDF to have the full context, we of course still offer that on the page. One other thing that I wanted to mention is, of course, we have everything available in français as well. Same reason why I don't do the translations for our team. But again, the PDF and the text itself is available in both. The last component of the resources page that I'd love to show is the misinformation page that we've put out. So this is a new addition. Our R&D team has been working really hard in collaborating with Philip Mai and the Ryerson Misinformation Tool team to put his COVID global misinformation dashboard as well as the COVID geo misinformation dashboard on our website. To go along with this, our R&D team has actually produced misinformation infographics that is almost like a snapshot of all the reports and misinformation claims that have been made within that month in a really, really pleasing document that I would definitely recommend everyone take a look at. Now going back, or I guess we finished up on resources, moving to events. This is similarly organized to our dynamic library where you can actually search through all the events upcoming and previous. So this is actually our time slot right now. You'd be able to add to calendar, add to Zoom, whatever you need be. But you could also search through the upcoming events too, either by speaker name, event name, or specific tagging. At this point, we only have 3 upcoming events. This functionality is much more powerful though for our previous events, where we have over 60 index speaker series and workshops. So similar to the digital library, if we searched up something like mental health, we would find all the events that we've hosted. And if I click in it, we can see the YouTube link that's embedded, as well as the speakers and the quick introduction of the event itself. So this has really been important for us in being able to highlight our events and have people come there. It is our most popular page at this point, and something that we are definitely proud of. Just coming back to CanCOVID homepage, the last thing I'll share before going into the member site is the little chat bot in the bottom right corner. So this is another way to be able to navigate our website. If you wanted to go connect with the CanCOVID community, you could join through here. We'll do that soon. or being able to look at previous and past events, our misinformation tool. But you can also search through our dynamic library with human semantics and context at any point or on any page on our website. So if we search up with vaccines, similarly to how we did that search earlier in the dynamic library, it'll provide us a variety of resources from that same list just here. And if you did want to get the whole list, you could click in and then actually go to the dynamic library itself, but just a quick tool if you did want to use it. Finally, I'll talk about joining CanCOVID, the big button, red button. Once you click it, we clearly define what a CanCOVID member is here, as well as link out to our registration form. There have been a couple changes to the registration form that were implemented in the re-registration. That was awesome. But also we've made changes to our privacy policy, as well as our code of conduct. So I highly recommend that all members, existing or new members, read this just to understand what is required of them and expected of them, but also what is expected of us. So with that being said, I will now move into being able to access our member site. So the member site is, like I said, an additional layer to the CanCOVID website, which is for people that have joined our Slack platform who have actually registered and filled out that form. And how it looks like is you'll be prompted to log in. Our Slack space is called CanCOVID, so cancovid.slack.com. It's going to ask me to put in my information, and I'm going to put in the email that's associated with the one that I entered during during the registration for CanCOVID. So that's the email that we have on record, and that's how we can connect the website to the Slack. Once I sign in, I'll get an authentication code. It's programmed to go to my phone, so I promise I'm not sending a text message right now, just trying to read this quickly. Awesome. And with that being said, I would be in the CanCOVID member site. Now that's a process that you only have to do once. Like I said, I've programmed it, or not programmed it, but set it up to be on Microsoft Incognito to not recognize me. But the best way to describe the CanCOVID member site is it being a carbon copy of the CanCOVID public site, but with this added interface that creates a connection from the Slack platform to the website. In turn, trying to create the CanCOVID all in one-stop shop, where you could come to this area on the website, be able to see the most important things in Slack, as well as use everything that our website offers without necessarily having to have 3 or 4 tabs open. So just looking at it again, if we went through here, you still have your home, your resources, your about, events, just this big red members button 2. And the first component is the Slack bulletin board. So this is where we can take messages from Slack, and any CanCOVID member can do this and escalate a message to push it here onto the member site. So you'd be able to see the most important things happening in Slack without necessarily actually being in the app itself. Now we've piloted this over the last month, and we've been pushing or month or two, and we've been pushing a variety of different responses. But also we have the ability to create projects. So these are test ones that I created for this case, just not to confuse anyone. But with a project, we can actually initiate a private channel. So any member can do this, initiate a private channel where they can then collaborate with other members in Slack. We set up an automatic Google Drive for you. And then once that's actually approved, it comes into this interface where the rest of the CanCOVID community can look at the projects and request to join. So this is something that I'll show how it actually works in Slack rather than just speaking about it that much. I don't want it to be too confusing, but then you can also see all the projects that are yours. So at this point, both of the projects are mine, and that's why it reflects the same as Explore projects and my projects. So if we wanted to collaborate on Slack, we'd click the Collaborate on Slack button. And as I mentioned, right off the bat, we have the general channels. Now, the one thing I will say is because I'm an administrator and I'm in every user group, I see all the channels, but that will not be the same view that our members have. Like I said, it'll be very specific to your registration. So in this case, like we have our announcements channel, the collaboration opportunities, Slack assistance, where we've pinned 2 really basic how to use Slack documents. I would definitely recommend them if you're having trouble with posting any comments or engaging with the community. But it's just a quick tips tool to use here and there. But if you did want to escalate a response to get it on the CanCOVID website, you would click Escalate CanCOVID Project System. The first time you use it, you would have to go to More shortcuts and search it up. I've used it already, obviously, so that's why it shows up. And once you escalate it, it just needs to be approved by our team, so myself or other CanCOVID members, and then it would actually be pushed to the website. So very easy button, 2 clicks. If you were looking to create a project or a specific group, you'd go to the apps, search for the CanCOVID project app, create new project, and fill out all the information. So if you wanted members to be required to be invited, the leads will be the people who can actually accept and add people who try to join from the website. So I highly recommend you pick those people specifically, knowing what their capabilities are. And then the project description or purpose, you might want to put something here to share this information with the rest of the CanCOVID community, the origin, the theme, select date, start date, archive date being the end date, and then any collaborators that you want to start off the bat. So once this is submitted, again, we approve it, and once it gets approved, a new channel gets created. So for this one, I have project demo test speakers. With every new project that's created, we set up an automatic Google Drive that you can use to share within the team, be able to share documents. It's only accessible to the people within this group itself. And then, of course, you can use this to do calls privately with your team members. And eventually, it'll show up here, and other members in CanCOVID can request to join this type of project. So behind all of this, the member site is really meant to be that key between what you can accomplish on the CanCOVID website, but also be able to do some of those functionalities in Slack. For people that are interested in this, I know I've just quickly gone over it today, but we do have how-to documents here, and you'll be able to watch this video again. But we also do have that Slack channel open for assistance. If anyone does have any specific questions, and we'll be sure to respond to them immediately. Now, going back quickly just to the rest of the presentation, I do want to report on a couple of our analytics. So coming after the launch, we were able to do a 2 and 4 week pre and post, just looking at some of the basic analytics. And long story short, most of them were really good. We had over 100% increase in active users for the 2 and 4 weeks. Our bounce rate was going down, our average time of duration was going up. And for me, most importantly, people were going to the right pages. You know, events is our top page, resources is really close, and the information tool or the misinformation tool is getting a lot more traction as well. So something that we can all be really happy about. In terms of our supplementary platforms as well, for YouTube and Zoom attendance, we've seen big increases in terms of just viewership, but also attendance for speaker series, as I mentioned earlier. On Twitter, in terms of engagement, likes, retweets, posts, we're getting a lot of engagement, which is amazing. And for LinkedIn, the engagement and current engagement numbers are really, really weird, and I don't have that much time to explain them, and I probably wouldn't do justice to them anyways in 5 minutes, but you'll just have to trust me that 3.78%, 6.67% are pretty good. Finally, I'll take a look at our future directions. And I think one of the biggest takeaways and learnings for us here at CanCOVID was in terms of community engagement, that we can have all the tools and the technology there to be able to facilitate engagement, but we really need to be pushing content ourselves, and we need to be engaging with the community as well. And we're hoping a session like this empowers people to continue using the platform, the different functionalities that we have, to continue asking questions, and to become more comfortable in reaching out to this great network that we've been able to establish. Next up, we're trying to implement a calendar. So it'd be a Google Calendar on the member site, but it would be encompassing of a variety of organizations and their events in Canada, COVID related, as well as our own events, and sort of create a holistic calendar that provided insights into a variety of different organizations. And then finally, a great project that we've been working on with Cognate.ca. I would highly recommend you take a look at that after. But we've been working with their team and being able to leverage the already search system that they have. So they're an organization that is leveraging open source research papers across Canada, globally, internationally, and bringing it into a really highly organized and easy to use search engine. So we're working with them to specifically leverage the Microsoft Academic Database, where we get about 250 to 260,000 different research papers every 2 to 4 weeks. We've had it set on a specific advanced search for only Canadian or papers with Canadian authors in it since January 2020. So the COVID timeline up until this date. And we found that the ability to search through that data set and database is definitely a powerful tool. We've just been spending the last couple of weeks being able to pilot it out and find the perfect user interface to be able to then expand it throughout the CanCOVID community. So with that being said, I just want to thank everyone for their time today. Thank you for listening to me. I hope I didn't chew anyone's ear off with all the talk about our CanCOVID platform, but really appreciate this opportunity, and I'm open to any questions now.
Thanks so much, Harris, for that great presentation. And for being able to talk about everything we've done over the past year and more in such a small presentation. So thanks so much. So there's a few questions, so we're going to get started. The first one actually is a request. So it would be very helpful for me and my research team if investigators were willing to share questions and results that they have used in their research, particularly with regard to COVID-19 stigma, anti-Asian stigma, hate crimes, and COVID-19 misinformation. This will allow us to formulate better questions, expand on existing research, not duplicate what has already been done. Who would be willing to share their data? We would be most willing to collaborate. So Harris, maybe you can speak about how they can even post this on our Slack channels to help, generate some response.
Absolutely. And I think that's you hit it on the nail on the head there, Rosa. For this type of opportunity, it really is about getting it out to as many people as we can. So for one, people are free to post on any of those channels, whether it's announcements or collaboration opportunities themselves. But we also definitely do encourage them to reach out to the CanCOVID community if they'd like us to take that into our own hands and have our community engagement team be able to push that out in specific channels or give them recommendations into which channels would be most appropriate. But I could definitely see a tool like our Slack escalation tool being helpful here, where we would be able to then push that message or that request onto the member site as well, and then sort of get double dipping in the people that are able to see the request, and then hopefully increase the number of responses that people are having as well in terms of being able to collaborate on that specific project.
Thanks, Harris. And this next question is, when will the database with Cognit be available for members to search from?
That's a wonderful question. I wish I could give a really a defined answer. What I can do is just give a little bit more of an update of where we're at. So right now we do have a very basic interface that Cognit's been kind enough to build out for us, and we do have their search engine, their tagging or their ability to search through the tagging of all those different research articles in the database. But there are certain things that we're trying to iron out. For instance, the difference when you search COVID or coronavirus or SARS-CoV-19 and the different results you get, the different operators, and being able to actually have a fully functional search and make sure that you're not actually missing anything within the gaps when you're putting it out. So I think that's where we're doing a lot of our usability testing right now to identify little add-ons, as one of the examples being we added a download CSV file because we found that would be a really great way to be able to take that information. But we're continuously providing the Cognit team with a little bit like these usability tweaks here and there that we think will make it a much more refined tool by the time that we can take it to a more large scale project. But I'm hoping definitely within the coming month or 2 months being able to get this fully functioning and available to everyone.
Thanks, Harris. And the next question we have here is, can we still log in via the Slack desktop app? And the second question is, under which subject area would I go as a health services researcher?
Absolutely. So the Slack, that's a great question, actually, because I think sometimes when people have concerns about Slack, it's, can I use the app? Do I use the browser? So in my case, when I open up Slack, it gives me the opportunity to either select to stay on the browser or to open up the app. I've used both. For the purpose of this demo, I just figured it'd be easier to do desktop or just to do it on the desktop browser. But the app itself is compatible and has the same functionalities as what you would have in the browser as well. Was there a second part of that question as well?
So the second part, is which subject area would I go as a health services researcher?
So if you identified your role as a researcher, you'd get a bunch of subset research topic channels. And then if it was specific to health services, you would probably get some hospital and healthcare based channels added to your list as well. So that's where you'd work with other hospital and healthcare professionals, not just researchers in that field. But I can't necessarily, I don't know the exact, the framework or which exact channels you'd be put in for that off the top of my head.
Yes, and one of the follow-ups was we used to have a primary care topic, and I think this was because we revamped, right?
That's exactly
Yeah.
it. So one thing that we noticed in the past was with 40 to 50 channels, there was some synonymous channels, and I think that caused a little bit of confusion. So with the primary healthcare topic, we've transitioned that now to the healthcare and hospital topic, where people with that specific role or research within that domain have been sort of transitioned into that one.
Great, Harris. And one final question before we end the session today. Are there opportunities to collaborate with CanCOVID for knowledge translation? Our team at U of C will be launching a guide next week to help primary care clinicians have better conversations about vaccines with hesitant patients. We would be interested in sharing with as many interested parties across Canada as possible. So I guess that's, going back to our Slack channels as well, Harris, right?
So in terms of, I guess, because I think that's a multifaceted question for our team, I would say, Rosa, that might even be for you in terms of collaborating. But on the tech side and getting people into CanCOVID, getting them into Slack and those aspects, absolutely, that's something that we would look to definitely be able to do. And then in terms of the more research stuff, that's not in my field as much, but I'm sure that there's something that could come out of that.
Yes, Nicole, we can, if you can send me your email, privately via the chat, that'd be great. We can follow up with you. Great. So I guess we'll end the session here. I just want to say thank you, Harris, for leading today's discussion, and our thanks to our today's attendees and wonderful questions that we got today. So next week, we have 2 events on the calendar. One is a workshop on Monday from 4 to 5:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on the results from the Canadian seroprevalence study, which includes a panel of experts from Statistics Canada and the COVID-19 Immunity Task Force. And the second event is our weekly speaker series on Tuesday from 4 to 4:30 Eastern Daylight Time, which is about the role of ventilation and filtration. That event will be led by our event speaker, Professor Jeffrey Siegel, from the Department of Civil and Mineral Engineering at the University of Toronto. And details about these events are on our website and will be included in this week's newsletter. Be sure to subscribe to our weekly newsletter if you haven't already done so you can stay up to date with our events and our initiatives. So this concludes today's event. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you all next week. Bye for now.
We would like to thank our speakers and members of our network for their continued support and participation in Canada's pandemic response. If you are interested in learning more about CanCOVID or joining our Pan-Canadian COVID-19 Research Network, please visit our website at www.cancovid.ca.